Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the largest amphibious invasion in human history. This is D-Day. Let's go. June 6th, 1944, 5:30 in the morning. The English Channel is black and angry. Inside a Higgins boat, 36 American soldiers crouch in the dark. They can't see each other's faces. The boat pitches violently. Men vomit into their helmets. The smell of diesel fuel and fear is everywhere. Above them, the sky flashes white. Naval guns, thousands of them. The bombardment has started. One soldier, a farm kid from Iowa, grips his M1 Garand so hard his knuckles turn white. He's 19. He's never killed anyone. In less than 10 minutes, the ramp will drop and he'll have to run into machine gun fire. This is what the Allies have been planning for 2 years. This is the moment that will decide the war. But to understand why thousands of young men are about to die on a beach in France, we need to go back. By 1942, Hitler controlled almost all of Europe. The Soviet Union was bleeding to death on the Eastern Front. Stalin was screaming for help. Churchill knew Britain couldn't win alone. America had the men and the material, but they needed a way in. They needed to invade France. They needed to open a second front and split Hitler's armies in two. Without it, the Nazis might actually win. The problem was simple and terrifying. Hitler knew the Allies were coming. He'd built the Atlantic Wall. Thousands of bunkers, millions of mines, obstacles covering every beach from Norway to Spain. Machine gun nests with interlocking fields of fire. Artillery positions zeroed in on the waterline. The defenses were commanded by Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, one of Germany's best generals. He believed the invasion had to be stopped on the beaches. If the Allies got ashore and established a foothold, Germany would lose. He was right. So the Allies had to choose where to land. Calais was the obvious choice. Closest point to England. Perfect ports. Hitler thought they'd land there. He stacked his best divisions around Calais and waited. But the Allied commanders, Eisenhower, Montgomery, Bradley, they picked Normandy. 5 beaches, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, Sword, 50 miles of French coastline. It was farther from England. The beaches weren't perfect. But Normandy had one advantage. Hitler wouldn't expect it. To make sure of that, the Allies launched the greatest deception operation in history, Operation Bodyguard. They created an entire fake army in southeastern England, inflatable tanks, dummy landing craft, fake radio traffic. They convinced the Germans that General Patton was commanding a massive invasion force aimed at Calais. German reconnaissance planes flew over and photographed the fake bases. Hitler believed it. Even after D-Day started, he kept his best divisions at Calais, waiting for the real invasion that would never come. The deception worked perfectly. But before the beaches could be taken, the flanks had to be secured. That job belonged to the paratroopers. Just after midnight on June 6th, over 13,000 men from the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions jumped into the darkness over Normandy. The mission was to seize key bridges and road junctions behind the beaches. Stop German reinforcements from reaching the coast. It went wrong immediately. Pilots flew too fast, too high, too scattered. Paratroopers were dropped miles from their objectives. They landed in flooded fields, in trees, on top of German bunkers. Units were shattered. Men landed alone, lost, armed with a rifle and a cricket clicker to identify friendlies in the dark. But the chaos actually helped. The scattered drops confused the Germans. They couldn't tell where the main attack was coming from. And the paratroopers, separated and surrounded, fought like devils. Small groups of men took their objectives anyway. They held bridges with handfuls of soldiers. They blocked roads. They created chaos behind enemy lines. By dawn, they'd done enough. Now, the naval bombardment. At 5:50 a.m., the guns opened up. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, 700 warships firing at the Atlantic Wall. The sound was apocalyptic. Shells the size of cars screaming overhead. The idea was to flatten the German defenses before the infantry landed. On some beaches it worked. On Omaha it didn't. The bombers had already failed. Flying too high because of cloud cover, they dropped their payloads inland. The bunkers were untouched. The machine guns were waiting. 6:30 a.m. The first wave hits the beaches. At Utah, the current pushes the landing craft a mile south of the target zone. By accident, they land in a lightly defended area. Casualties are light. The men push inland. Utah is a success. At Omaha, it's a slaughter. The first wave lands directly in front of the strongest German defenses. The ramps drop and machine guns open fire. Men are cut down before they reach the water. Bodies float in the surf. The beach is a killing zone. Soldiers hide behind beach obstacles, behind the bodies of their friends. Officers are shot. Sergeants are killed. Units cease to exist. For 2 hours, the invasion stalls. Omaha Beach is failing, but slowly, desperately. Small groups of men start moving. A lieutenant here, a sergeant there. They don't have orders. They just start going forward because staying on the beach means death. They cross the seawall. They blow holes in barbed wire with Bangalore torpedoes. They crawl up the bluffs under fire. They throw grenades into bunkers. They kill Germans at point-blank range. Destroyers move insanely close to shore, risking running aground, and fire directly at the bunkers. Inch by inch, the Americans claw their way off Omaha. By noon, the beach is secured. The cost is staggering. Over 2,000 casualties, but they're ashore. Meanwhile, 3 miles west, a different kind of hell. Pointe du Hoc, a 100-foot cliff with German artillery on top. Guns that can hit both Omaha and Utah beaches. The 2nd Ranger Battalion, 225 men, has to take it. They land at the base of the cliff under fire. They fire rocket-propelled grappling hooks up the rock face. Ropes and ladders dangle in the wind. Germans appear at the top and start cutting the ropes, dropping grenades. The Rangers climb anyway, hand over hand, up a sheer cliff under fire, carrying weapons and ammunition. They reach the top. They fight through the German positions. And when they get to the gun emplacements, they find the guns aren't there. The Germans moved them inland days ago. So the Rangers go inland. They find the guns in an orchard. They destroy them with thermite grenades. Then they hold their position for 2 days, surrounded, outnumbered 5-1, out of ammunition, fighting with captured German weapons. They don't retreat. Out of 225 Rangers, only 90 can still fight by the time they're relieved. They held. By the end of June 6th, all 5 beaches are secured. 156,000 Allied soldiers are ashore in France. The Atlantic Wall is breached. But the cost is brutal. Over 4,000 casualties on the first day. And the battle is far from over. The hedgerow fighting in Normandy will last for months. The war in Europe will continue for another 11 months. But D-Day is the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. It succeeded because of planning, deception, courage, and luck. The weather was terrible. Eisenhower delayed the invasion by 1 day, gambling on a brief break in the storm. If he'd waited longer, the tide conditions would have been wrong for weeks. The deception kept German reinforcements away from Normandy for crucial days. The paratroopers created chaos. The destroyers at Omaha made the difference. And individual soldiers, scared and seasick and far from home, did what seemed impossible. They crossed that beach. They climbed that cliff. They kept moving forward when every instinct screamed to hide. D-Day worked because thousands of ordinary people did something extraordinary. Hitler's fortress Europe was broken. The Allies had their foothold. The liberation of France had begun. The war would end in Berlin, but it was won on the beaches of Normandy. And that's D-Day. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more history content. I'll see you in the next one.